Welcome to Albion TV presents the AO Daily Show, your source of real news in an unreal world, keeping you up to date on the latest news, events, and the great community of Albion Online. Today is Wednesday, the 5th of January, 2022. I am your host, the Shozen One, and joining me today, my co-host, the great, the powerful, the man who knows how to flick the switches, it's Bogul.
Hello. How are we?
I'm doing well, Bogul. How are you today? How's things?
Doing okay. We had a long ZVZ show just up until about 2 minutes ago. It was quite hectic today in the world of Albion.
It's been getting that way. It seems like since the release of the Lands Awaken, maybe even a little bit earlier than that, we saw just a lot of mid-tier guilds start to get involved in the Outlands battles. And it has evolved into an all-out war that is raging across all the time zones in all the areas across all city portals. It is pretty wild out there, and I'm finding it very enjoyable to cover. And in that vein, I got to speak to Sarge, the GM of Militant, a mid-tier guild. I hate to even call them mid-tier now because they're about 225 players, which I say is starting to get to that large group. But the difference is they just don't play inside of an alliance, which means they're generally going to be bringing smaller groups to a lot of their ZVZs. However, even as a single group, they're bringing 70 to 85 people to a standard weekday CTA.
That's a lot of people. I mean, if you read their guild description, they're apparently 100% pacifist guild. And if you are tired of having to do things, then you should join them. I think Sarge might tell us differently.
They're not a pacifist guild. They are a red is dead guild.
That's the best kind, is it?
Makes it easy. Don't have to follow a lot of naps.
Right.
All right, but I think we should probably get right into the interview, and I will start a raffle in just a moment. We'll be running raffles throughout the show. We will be giving away at least one 4K gold raffle, so do hang out and do stick around for the raffle, and I hope you enjoy the interview.
All right, let's play this.
Welcome to the Albion TV Interview series. I am the Shozen One, and today I am joined by the GM of Militant, Sarge, who I've had on the show a number of times in the past. We've talked about his time in Savage, we've talked about his time in BA, but today we're going to talk about something completely different. The solo life, the red is dead life. We're talking about that militant life. Sarge, how you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. I'm looking forward to talking to you about this. We've been discussing over the last couple of weeks, really, the situation that has changed with the Lands Awakened update and how players are now really living in the Black Zone, playing in the Black Zone, and just roaming out there, finding their own content. And as we were discussing that, I was like, you know what? We should probably just do an interview about this. We should spend some time talking about how things have changed with you and I guess your guild life progression a little bit and how some of the guys have joined up with you and found this new gameplay loop that you're really enjoying. So, yeah, I think maybe we should start, I guess, like a TLDR of the history of Sarge, perhaps?
Yeah. So I started the game back in 2018, Season 4 in Savage. Moved over to BA after that, Season 5. I went back and did a season in Savage. I think it was Season 9. Wanted to get, a little bit more small-scale content ZVZ in. And then went back to BA till it disbanded. And ultimately, created Militant from there. And like you said, with the recent updates and the changes and new things that SBI has added, like the change, the ability to be solo has become something, it's feasible now, whereas maybe it was a little bit more difficult before. So a lot of the members that I started with, weren't just XBA. I had people from both sides of, I guess, the last big war, right? kind of joined together with me and the guys that did come from BA, because we wanted to do something different. Like, we wanted to kind of get away from that large power block, politically driven life. And we saw the changes that were coming as an opportunity to do that. So, people that thought the same way as I did, which was the focus on the fight, Red is Dead, and just going out and having good content, kind of banded together and started Militant, and we've grown from there.
And how many guys are over there in Militant right now? What are you guys rocking during a CTA?
So our CTA last night at 0-3, which is one of our big timers. I think we had 75. We pulled 75, which is a good pull for a single guild.
Yeah, I would say so. This is what, a Sunday night?
Yeah.
A non-invasion day?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty good. I would take 75 from a singular guild. And so you guys must be pretty close to the cap now if you're bringing 75 to a CTA. What do you got?
225, I think. Somewhere in the 220 range. I mean, we've kind of fluctuated with, people being active and going inactive, and, people coming and going, but we've been right around the 200 mark. Not capped as far as the guild's concerned, but, like we've had a lot of interest, I think, from a lot of players in general with the changes that have been made with the type of gameplay we've been focusing on.
I got to say, that's really impressive. You are only 3/4 of the way through the cap of how many people you can have in a guild at, 225 out of 300. Man, you guys could be pulling 100 to a CTA if you guys capped out that guild. Maybe we can do a little bit of recruitment for you tonight.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of why I was excited to talk to you. I think the more people know that they don't need to be in a big alliance anymore, that, you don't need to rely on these large, again, power blocks of guilds and alliances to get good content, right? It's not about just logging on for a CTA, massing, going and getting some content and logging off, right? Like that, those are the days of old now, right? As more people realize that, I think we'll see more and more come our direction as far as not only filling our guild up, but more guilds doing similar things.
You brought up a really, really good point there. You said that it's not all about the CTA anymore. So you're bringing 75 to a CTA, which means that you're probably doing pretty damn good even off CTA timers, because the most content right now isn't even on the CTAs. You're just roaming from place to place, living out in the world and getting organic content. So you guys probably have just a peak time player base that's still pretty decent. You can just find content or a group doing content if you just log on and hit the Discord, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you look at our Discord on a regular basis, like we have multiple groups going at once most of the time. I mean, at least we started heavily in a focus, but like as we've grown, we've added a good amount of players that are active during that 18 to 21 kind of time slot. And like you said, it's not just CTA timers. So we'll have groups out fame farming, we'll have groups out roaming, we'll have multiple groups, talking to each other about cores and vortexes, and again, the fame farmers telling each other like where the mobs are going to rally. And the CTAs for us are obviously the big objectives, the guild based objectives. But it's not about like pulling everybody online for that timer anymore. It's really just kind of collecting everybody up from what they are doing, and getting everybody together for that massive guild objective, whether it's a Terry or castles or whatever the case may be.
I think it's great that you no longer have to bring people online to do these events. They're already there. They're living in the game and doing things. And one of the things that I had brought up earlier in the week during one of the daily shows was this idea that a lot of people are out there roaming on group, trying to get that perfect size of somewhere below blobbing, and then instantly creating that second group to create another roaming group as soon as they get to that blob size, and splitting up, because there's this perfect size of content now where you can be in that 5 to 10 player range and then split off and just expand your reach and be able to re-merge for large-scale content, like when the crystals show up, for example, and another guild
so
comes
much
along.
content
Around you
Right.
can run these smaller groups all the time and then bring them together in the areas you live to face that larger content.
Right. You don't want to like go out and ruin your own content by taking a group out that's too big all the time, right? So the content is really the driving factor there, the motivating factor. Um, and you can have multiple groups out roaming, still getting content, right? Like because cores and vortexes aren't, consolidated to one map or whatever. They're all over, right? So you can have multiple groups out there still getting content, getting points. A lot of our guys now roam, and they're killing all the high tier mobs in the zone. They're gathering in the zone together. They're grabbing whatever the objectives are, the treasure chests, the orbs, the vortexes, right? And then they're moving on. So and if there is a big fight, yeah, they'll let each other know, like, hey, we got a purple vortex in this map in 20 minutes. Like, we need to converge, because we know that most likely for a purple or higher vortex, we're going to see a decent amount of turnout for that. So yeah, I mean, it's good to see all across the board, as far as people trying to level out, realizing that the content is what everybody's after. So like, you don't necessarily need to run around with a massive blob to get good content anymore.
Let's talk about some of that content there. You talked about those crystal vortexes there, and how when they get to a certain size, you expect to see somebody else. Can you go into that and maybe lay that out for players out there in the world who don't get to experience the vortexes yet? What does that entail, and what kind of forces can you generally expect per level?
So again, based on value, right? There's the increasing tier from green to all the way up to gold, right? With blue being tier 2 and purple being tier 3. And I would see a couple things that drive the size of a fight, I guess you can expect, is number one, the value of the crystal, right? So the higher you get on that tier list, the more likely you are to see someone contesting it. And number two is the visibility of that vortex, because the higher tier of the vortex, the farther out that you can see that vortex's location and timer on the map. So it's almost essentially like more people know about it, right?
Hmm.
So, and they're going to be like, oh, hey, that has some value to it. We could expect that, it's going to be a fight, right? And I mean, we've had fights, that have gotten pretty large, especially on the gold vortexes, fighting over who's going to ultimately run away with it. And there's been a couple instances where we've been so busy fighting the other large groups that someone comes in, and ends up snaking it and running off, and we're still fighting. And then we win, and we look for the vortex, and it's gone. Like it's 3 maps away. Someone
I
already
definitely
grabbed it.
got to observe that the other day. That was pretty funny to watch. So
Yeah,
it
so you
does
gotta
seem to
you gotta be
happen.
you got to be careful. You got to pay attention to the objective with some of these things. But the great thing about the vortexes is they're a great source of points for the players,
Hmm.
being for the might in favor. But then it's also a great way from an open world perspective to be able to upgrade your terries, right, and not necessarily have to crystal GVG, right? You can have a collective kind of group effort, whether it's a couple people on a smaller one or a Zerg on the larger one, to contribute to leveling up the terries and getting the zone bonuses that go with the level increases.
Yeah, I guess we should touch on that real quick, as the crystal vortexes are used as an alternative now to level up your towers, so you don't have to just do it through the 5v5 Crystal League any longer. And
Right.
now there are additional bonuses towards, I believe it's gathering yield?
Yes. It's gathering enchantment.
A gathering
So
enchantment,
like
yes, I'm sorry.
the zone's enchantment rate, which adds a lot of value, right? And not only that, but as the territories get up in level, man, they become hard. Like if you've ever jumped on a level 7 or 8 terry and tried to like take down the mage or the mages, and to include the sentry mage and get a launch off, I mean, they hurt, right? So the amount of points that they generate for your guild goes up as they increase, which is obviously a huge benefit. The Terry strength goes up, the enchantment rate goes up. I mean, there's just it's all positives in regards to leveling up a Terry, and it's valuable. So they're worth fighting over.
Well, that's good to hear. How are those rewards for individuals, not just for the guilds? How are those, if you're in the group and you turn one of those in, do you feel like you did something good?
Yeah, I mean, the might in favor. Obviously, the might. You're watching your bar increase, right? And you get your weekly bar for your bonuses in your chest, and you're aiming for whatever goal you're trying to aim for on your season bar. But the favor, some people are still finding out that you can actually that you spend that, you earn and you spend it. I mean, personally, I buy the tomes just because that's what I've been buying, the TA tomes. Those are like what 200k experience a pop. A lot of people bought the chest. Some people like to buy the energy, depending on what they just want to sell it or whatever they're doing. Maybe they're trying to upgrade a mount or whatever. But I think that it's a direct reward for participation, and it's a way that players can generate econ or just positive impact from their playtime, which is great. Because if you're out there and you're grabbing these objectives, taking these fights, winning these small scale fights or skirmishes, and participating in the type of content, like you're gonna be rewarded, which is positive all around.
Do you find there's any difficulties with handing out those rewards, as you can just give it with that one group that's handing it in? Or have you not run into anything like that yet?
No, that does come up, and we, especially if it's a larger purple vortex or purple power core or whatever. I'll try to grab multiple because there's multiple around, and I'll try to spread them if we have more than one party. I do think that maybe it could be looked at from like maybe everybody in the zone perspective, because it can be a little difficult.
That's an interesting solution right there, giving it to all the guild members in the zone when it's turned in.
Yeah, because sometimes like if I mean, like I said, those upper end ones are just really, really valuable, right? And the amount of might and favor that you get for those is right in line with that value. So if you had to go fight for that gold vortex and it took a couple parties and you got more than 20 guys that had to fight for it, which is likely, only one party is gonna reap that direct might and favor reward. But I don't know, maybe you guys could look at fixing that, because it can be difficult to split up appropriately.
Well, I'm always trying to find, when something is working, what are the aspects of the thing that is working that could be improved? Because when I go to people for feedback currently on this current system, most of the feedback is very, very positive, and a lot of players are focusing on that. But I want to find those things that in 3 months are going to be those things that you guys are complaining about.
Yeah, I definitely think that's one of them. I mean, you're gonna run into somebody being unhappy that maybe they went and participated in whatever the activity was, and they're not getting the same rewards that the other or the main party is, or maybe you had 23 guys instead of 20. Now those 3 guys don't get credit for turning in that green vortex, right? So that could be an improvement to be made, but we do our best. Like I said, we try to grab multiple, bring in a couple blue along with that purple or that gold, so we can have second party or the second group turn those in, so everybody gets something.
And talking about the rewards here, we talked about individually that it's very, very positive for the players. But for the guild, could we talk a little bit about how much this territory bonus is really helping? Because I'm noticing many groups leveling their towers. And I don't think it's just for the bonuses. You were saying these guards are hugely beneficial in defensive situations. And I've even heard from players who are out there gathering or roaming in the area where they live around their territory, that having these leveled up towers means they can feel safe in a way where they can almost PvP out of PvP sets, because players don't realize how strong these guards are when they bring them to the tower.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if SBI maybe tweaked the guard strength levels or the Terry strength levels, or maybe it's just that we're seeing more zones that are at higher levels than we used to see. But once you get into that level 7 and 8 range, even at level 6, like, it's pretty noticeable. I mean, they hurt. They can almost 2-shot a healer basically if you don't have a plate where taking aggro, right? So from a territory, from like a zone perspective, I mean, like if you're living in an area and that's your primary area, like, yeah, absolutely, you have that safe spot to try to run to, like if you're being chased or whatever the case may be. And then like once you're there, if you've put in the time and effort to level it up, it's not as easy to dive you or just have the group that's chasing you run in through the guards after you, or whatever the case may be, because they're gonna feel it. I mean, there's been a couple instances where we've actually tried to like launch on some higher end Terries, and like we had to pull off and like regroup and add some people and change the comp a little bit just because like they're that difficult to launch on. So, and that's not even including just like that it helps the value of the zone, right? So if you're in a zone that you're leveling up the territory on, you're directly impacting the value to your guild and the members just simply by the enchantment rate.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and that enchantment rate is great from what I'm hearing. But there's also, what is it, additional bonuses to hideouts too? Are you living in a hideout or an HQ right now?
We have a HQ.
Okay. And how do you find that's working for you? Do you feel secure out there?
Yeah, I mean, I I love it. I love it for some good reasons, and I probably love it for some bad reasons too, because it allows me to maybe spout off about to some larger groups about coming to evict me. They can stand there all they want and try to hit my headquarters. So good luck. But yeah, no, the bonuses, the fame bonuses and increases from like putting the time and effort into, again, bringing the power cores to your hideout is great. I mean, I like the guys constantly pay attention to that, or reap the benefit of that from fame farming or whatever the case is. Like they'll constantly look to refresh the buff.
Mm-hmm.
So they're getting the max amount that they can when they're going out, whether it's gathering or fame farming or whatever the case may be. So, but yeah, I mean, just knowing that for the time being, while this season is active and we have this headquarters and we earned it and we put it there, that no matter what happens, someone could come take all the zones, someone could want to make a hard push at us, right? I mean, as long as we're active and stay fighting, like, I mean, we're fine. Our home's there, it's safe. We earned it. No one's gonna come take it away from us, right? So, I mean, that's the great part.
Who are these people that you're spouting off at? Is there anybody you want to talk some smack to? Because you guys in Militant have been quite active. It sounds like you have some enemies that you've, I don't know, like just been continuously engaged with for the last month or so.
I mean, right now it's Surf. I think Surf is still playing by the old rules, right? They think that the more the better, the N+1 meta, right? So they're trying to bring 300 or multiple alliances, multiple guilds to fight, one group, or take a Terry from one guild or whatever the case is. And but I think it's become much harder for them, which is one of the reasons that we're still successful, right? Because if I show up and it's a Terry launch and you brought 300 people, I'm just gonna go a couple zones away and I'm still gonna find content.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't have to fight those 300 guys. You can go away.
You just mass 300 people to sit there because I'm still gonna go get content. Now, finding content for 200 to 300 people is going to be much more difficult, and as they keep having to do that, like, those numbers are going to go down. But I also think that with the changes that have been made, like the game is starting to realize that, I mean, that's just not good content. It's just not good content when large power blocks do things like that, right? Like it's just not necessary anymore. It's not needed. Like, it's not good content. Like, we've even seen some examples of other people coming in and joining the fights, not because they're our friends, or not because, like, we have an agreement, right? But because, like, they don't want to see 300 versus 60, right? Because it's just not, again, it's not good content for anybody. I mean, as much as the 300 people might say, like, yeah, we're awesome, we won, we steamrolled those 60 guys, easy, thanks for the loot. Like, I mean, that's not good content for them either.
I don't like being in that group because there's not enough loot for me.
Right. Like, it's not good content for what they got the ZVZ for a minute or two. Like,
after 20 minutes of running,
right,
and 30 minutes of waiting to even go out. No, nobody likes an hour of running for 2 minutes of content.
Right. So, I mean, groups like that, because, like I said, so we're red is dead. We have no naps. We're not an alliance. Like, we have no do not kill lists. But in situations like those, if we are going to take the fight, like, we will aim at someone first. We will make someone the priority. Like, specifically, since we're talking about Surf and we're in the same neck of the woods. Yeah, I'll hit Surf first, no matter what. You know what I mean? I'm not going to hit the other guild that has 50 against the alliance or multiple alliances that have several hundred. Like, I'm not going to hit the other group of 50 first. That would be silly. You
Okay.
know, so
Go after the big guys and just get
yeah,
the
like why?
content. What
Yeah,
kind of?
because
How do you do that? I want to know. So you're saying you attack these guys who are so much larger than you. How do you get content from them that you can engage with in your size if they're always bringing 200 plus to a fight? What do you have to do to get that content?
they're not always bringing 200 plus. Like, I will say that, like, from a numbers perspective, though, those numbers, right? Those heavy numbers are really still CTA focused. Like I said, almost kind of the old mentality from before the changes that SBI's made. So they're super CTA focused. Like, we'll still go out off CTA timers and run into groups of surf that aren't that heavily numbered, or there's still conversations between me and other callers setting up fights. I mean, we're just talking about primarily like the big CTA timers for Terry's or massive objectives. When we're running into that problem, but as far as like because we don't want to be left out of like those big fights too when we want to be in the big fight, right? So yeah, I'll message or I'll talk to whoever the other caller of that 50 to 60 man group is. I'll say, hey, look, until they're dead, I'm not going to hit you. Plain and simple, right?
So in
Because
a situation like, because we have some like current events, if you will, we just
Right.
heard that 16 by 13 has folded into AAA because of the pressure that Surf put on them when they are in I guess a lack of leadership position right now because of
Right.
personal issues within 16 by 13. So they fold into AAA, and now there seems to be a full war between those two groups. Are you inclined to tag along behind those battles to try to third party it and just
always.
slam onto Surf exclusively? And is that technically like still third partying if you know you're only after one side?
Specific to the example that you gave where they're 16 by 13, like there are another group, right, that has large numbers. So like that's not necessarily a situation where like I'm going to be reaching out to anybody to like facilitate a target,
Okay.
right, to set a priority, because they're going to have big numbers. When I walk into a situation like that, I'm just looking at what way can I hit somebody and like not get turned on and full wiped and like get some kills and get out, right? Like the situations that we're talking about are when it's heavily lopsided, when it's the entire alliance or multiple alliances against individual groups or a single group. Those are the times that, yeah, absolutely, like I'll reach out, and I've told the on the enemy side, I've told them like, this is what I'm gonna do 100%, because like why would we clear out the other group that's maybe our size so you can just focus us with all of your people, right? But
Well, that makes sense. That makes sense. So it's more of in a situation, it's not like a blood vendetta against Surf where you're going to go and target them above somebody else. It's that right now they're the example because they're the large group in your area that is somewhat engaged with you. So you're going to side with the smaller groups first over them. But if they're engaged with another similarly sized force and you can third party it, it's no blood vendetta against those damn bastards in Surf. It's let me just make sure I don't die in this fight.
I mean, I don't want to lie. Like, I mean, if I see some Surf, like, I'm going to kill some Surf.
Okay. See,
Like,
that's what we're getting
you know
here.
what I
I
mean?
just
Like,
wanted to find out the truth of the matter here. What's going on?
But I'm not, like, if it's another large group, I'm not going to like actively, set a priority, right? Like, but yeah, I mean, I might find, or I might look
Okay.
for their backline first, but I'm not going to have like those types of communications. And the real reason that we do those types of communications in those situations is just because we don't want to be gated out of the content, right?
Absolutely.
Like we
Understandable, yeah.
still want to fight, and just because someone else is still living in 2 patches ago, like I don't want that to ruin the large
Well, I mean,
scale
it's not that
content for
far
my
ago.
guys.
Let's be clear. It's only, I mean, patch maybe it's 2 patches ago, but only one content update. He's only one.
Yeah, I
content
mean,
update
I know,
behind.
but get with the times. Like, be faster at evolving. Like, let's go. That stuff's old. Move on.
Oh my God, it's been 2 months. Let's go, buddy. Come on.
Yeah. Like let it go. Let it go.
It's
Right?
only been a month.
BA's gone. It's dead. Everybody's moved on. Like, let's move on. And I think
All right.
to a lot of people's credit, a lot of people have, right? A lot of people have. Even like some core vet groups that we know are kind of grouped together, like, or consolidated, right? Even some of those groups and those people, like, even they have adapted to the fact of, like, let's move on.
Do you
Like,
want to bring up any of that? Like, give some examples of that?
um as much as I always haven't been a fan of Del Negro,
Mhm.
right? I do think he's trying to embrace that. Like, in the Energy Surge season with Rang, like, he was trying to play by himself for the most part. And I think even now in Dior with Escalation, like, I feel like their intent is good. Like, they don't want to be in cluster queue conflicts where the 4 zones around whatever is queued, and people are trying to get in, and queue priority is a problem, and this, that, and the other. I don't think they legitimately want to be a part of that anymore.
I think I have to agree with you, and I have to say, Dior in general, the guilds inside their Elevate and Escalation do seem to work together when the numbers facilitate that they have to. Like, if they're going against a large group that is bringing an overwhelming force, they'll get together. But we see them separate and fighting as individuals more often than not, and generally
Yeah, and,
against
like,
similar sized groups.
and let me be clear. Like, I'm not trying to pat either one of those groups on the back.
I can
I'm just-
understand. No big fan
I'm
here
just-
either.
I'm just saying that as far as, like, adapting to the changes that have happened within the game, that they've been a group that has, like, openly embraced changing
Mhm.
versus some organizations wanting to hold on to what used to be the N+1 meta.
There's places where we've seen that be a big problem. If you look at what happened with PoE, they didn't really adapt very well, and they're facing some difficulty.
Yeah, we agreed, but I mean, just like we talked about the headquarters, like, I mean, can you really remove them? Like,
Oh no, I
what
think
mean?
that you're not going to be able to remove them. I think
Right.
that's an area they have adapted well to. I know that they've mostly dropped HQs in specific zones where they want to maintain a hold, and they aren't going to let the overwhelming forces of the Coalition 5.0 completely wipe them out of the game, and they should not be able to.
No,
Just
you
as
can't.
PoE should never have been able to remove anybody else with extortion or whatever. Neither should anybody be able to remove them through combined forces.
Right. And I don't know. I haven't looked in I don't know, a few days, but I want to say that they still have a several thousand man alliance and
Mhm.
10 plus zones, right? I mean, I think it was 11 when I checked a few days ago, but you're not going to completely remove anybody. So, I mean, that gives them the time to, change how they feel like they need to change, or, play how they feel like they need to play, because they can't be removed from the game, which is a good thing. Like you said, no group that is active, that wants to play the game, right, should be faced with, content gates imposed by other players that are going to prevent them from doing so, right?
Absolutely. And those content gates were the worst. Not being able to participate in a match, even because somebody simply had more players than you and could cue you out of the zone, was a terrible situation to be in. And I'm so glad we've seen changes in gameplay that have fixed that.
Yeah, now we just need people to get over the fear of dying, and then we'll be good.
It's slowly but surely. I think if we go back in a content update previous and we look at the faction warfare updates, I feel like that added a lot to the game as well, for encouraging people to at least try large scale PvP. And it seems that we're seeing more and more people go, okay, I've tried this. How do I now get into the Outlands? And 3 months ago, I really didn't have a good answer for them. There wasn't a way for me to say, this is how you progress, this is how you get in, this is how you get your foothold. It would have been, okay, contact this person and get yourself 2 million silver a day, and they're going to want it up front. And unfortunately, you're not going to be able to gather in that zone. And if you run into them, they might want to kill you, but you're not allowed to kill them or this other list of guilds. So if you do, you're going to have to re-gear them. And so be able to have a bunch of money in escrow, so that anytime you can silver That's how I had to tell people to get in. Now I can go, okay, what you need to do is get some season points. It ain't hard.
Right.
Here are these 13 ways how. Oh, you got it? Good. All you need to do is this. Find yourself a location, plop it down, be active. You're all set, buddy. Go have fun.
Right. And I also think that mentality starts at the top. And I think that the game changes drive like that mentality. Like for a while there, and even still, like we were in a place where like callers didn't want to lose. Like it was too important to lose. Like I'm not gonna take this bad fight because I don't want to run that risk, and it's gonna look bad, and like the whole alliance is gonna be mad at me, and we're in this major war, and like 100 different reasons why people didn't want to take fights. And I think that we're seeing improvements to where, like people are realizing that it's okay to take fights. I mean, one of the things that, whether you like me or don't like me, I fight no matter what. Outnumbered, outgunned, whatever. Like I fight 100%. Go in a fight knowing that we're going to lose, but it's about how we're going to lose. Can we get better losing, I guess. But yeah, it's just like I just fight. Like even losing is fun. I mean, if you have a fight that's 10 minutes long and you're just trading back and forth and you're kiting across the map and finding new chokes to fight, and like that's good content. At the end of the day, who cares if you end up getting wiped? Like that was great content. And I think as the game progresses and as we see more changes that are in line with the changes that have been happening, like hopefully that mentality starts to change too, right? And then people won't want to bring 200 or 300 people versus 60. I mean, because that's just not fun.
No, it's not fun. And I think that's a good place to kind of start to wrap up this interview. Are there any players out there or any other guilds you'd like to give a shout out to before we do wrap it up?
Yeah, obviously, I want to shout out all the people in Militant that have, decided to live that solo life for better or for worse. The game has made it much better, and we have a lot of fun. But being solo is still a little difficult. You're gonna run into those. You're gonna run into those groups or situations where it's just not the best to not have a bunch of friends. But a special shout out to the officers, right? The backbone of the guild that are there with me, first in, last out. Taste the Painbow, who was one of the contributing reasons. Like we were able to cross the divide with a lot of members being on opposite sides of the last war and kind of create Militant off the back of that. So shout out to all my guys. Thank you. I enjoy playing with you guys every day. Shout out to all the people that aren't afraid to try to challenge the meta. And, shout out to all the people that maybe haven't caught up yet. Like, maybe get with the times. So that's all I got.
All right. Well, that's pretty good message for the people there. I got to say thank you for joining me today, Sarge. I always enjoy getting to talk to you and hearing about the world of Albion from your perspective. We don't hear from a lot of NA players, and it is good to check in with you guys occasionally. And I'm glad that Militant is having a good time and finding content that is engaging and fun for its players.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I really hope that maybe a couple of people that hear this or have listened to this, take the time to venture out, right? You don't need to be in a big alliance anymore. Like you don't need to be in a position where whether your E hits or not, it doesn't matter. Find a place you want to be in.
Good advice. All right. Thank you very much, Sarge. I will talk to you again soon.
Absolutely.